Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today it's time to do another one of my book reviews, and today we will be chatting about Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. So I had never heard of Clay McLeod Chapman until last year when Nightworm sent us Whisper Down the Lane, which was about the Satanic Panic in the 80s. It was a very fun, semi-creepy read. I really liked his writing style. I believe it was a 4-star read for me, but it didn't blow me away, but I still had a lot of fun reading it. So I was really excited about this, especially because Clay McLeod Chapman works on a lot of films. I believe he's attached to the upcoming Wendell and Wild stop-motion film by Jordan Peele and Henry Selick. Cannot wait for that. I have been waiting years for this movie to finally come out. That and the Pinocchio by Guillermo del Toro, not the weird one with Tom Hanks. That looks terrible. But yes, so he is attached to that. I have high hopes for that. And he's worked on a couple other films recently. He has a very large film and television, what do you call it, filmography? Not a bibliography, but I guess it's a filmography. So I was really excited about this. I also think this cover is absolutely amazing. I love this book cover. It is chilling, it is creepy, it is lit very, very well. It's very cinematic, very cinematography-esque. I think it's great. And the premise was interesting. So I'm going to read the inside flap of the book very, very quickly for y'all. So it says, pop a pill, see the dead. Side effects may occur. Erin hasn't been able to set a single boundary with her charismatic but reckless college boyfriend Silas. When he asks her to bail him out of rehab again, she knows she needs to cut him off. But days after he gets out, Silas turns up dead of an overdose in their hometown of Richmond, Virginia, and Erin's world falls apart. Then a friend tells her about Ghost, a new drug that allows users to see the dead. Want to get haunted, he asks. Grieving and desperate for closure with Silas, Erin agrees to a pill-popping seance. But the drug has unfathomable side effects, and once you take it, you can never go back. Okay. I'm going to have minor spoilers in this review. I don't think there's a way for me to talk about my dissatisfaction with this book about talking about two major things that are not necessarily super spoilers, but they're definitely things that the inside flap doesn't reveal. That being said, if you read any review on Goodreads, they'll probably talk about that. So the first thing, again, not a true spoiler, you'll figure it out by page 50. It's pretty much the first 50 pages is the synopsis that I just read. I can't believe it takes 50 pages to get to the point of this book. It's only 300 pages. And then you find this thing I'm about to say out. So if you don't want to hear it, now's your chance to stop. But if you do care, this is another novel about hauntings that are actually caused by fucking fungus. And I'm so over this subgenre. It was interesting when Mexican Gothic did it. Mexican Gothic had its flaws, but I thought it was interesting when Mexican Gothic did it because I hadn't really seen it before. And I know it's hinted at in some early Edgar Allan Poe, which is why, shocker, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher did it in her reimagining of The Fall of the House of Usher. So that's 2 books back to back that are haunted mushrooms. You're high. That's why you see ghosts, right? God. So, those 2 books both did it, and I thought one did it well, and I thought one copied the other, and that book cited Sylvia Moreno Garcia's Mexican Gothic in the afterword. Surprise, surprise! Clay McLeod Chapman also cites Sylvia Moreno Garcia's work in his afterword, and he wrote an entire book dedicated to a haunted mushroom. And mushrooms are creepy. And the way he describes mushrooms and the visuals that you get from certain types of mushrooms are very, very creepy. But I'm so over it. I'm so over haunted mushrooms. And I'm so over this idea of, are you hallucinating or is the supernatural thing real? God. And he just beat the haunted mushroom thing over the head of a dead horse over and over and over and over. And I was just so annoyed with it. So I'm going to start by saying that this was a 3-star read for me. And this was a 3-star read for me because I felt intrigued enough to keep reading the story, and looking back, I really don't think I liked the story, but I don't think I hated it as much while I was reading it as I do looking back on it. It was definitely better than the Paul Bear's Club, which really should have been a 2-star read. There's moments in this book that I think have value. And the most interesting thing about this book is it is a poorly veiled metaphor for addiction. And I think the way that Clay McLeod Chapman explains addiction and creates different people who have succumbed to addiction and people trying to escape addiction, and how addiction can really ruin someone's life even when they have it all together, I think was done very, very well. To the point where, like, even me as a reader, I was like, oh my God, like, don't do it, don't fall back, don't fall back. And you see our characters just slowly fall back into their vices, and it makes sense. And it felt like how you feel when you're helpless trying to help somebody trying to overcome an addiction, and you don't know what to do, and you feel powerless because you're the reader and you're watching them spiral, and it's out of your control now. I thought that was very effective. I thought the body horror in this was very, very creepy. It was very unnerving, and it really got me in my core. And I thought the ghosts were cool. That being said, when you create ghosts and you create a different world for ghosts and different rules for ghosts to abide by than your typical, you know, ghostly rules that, like, the modern day person understands, it becomes tricky. Because then you have to continue to follow your own rules. And when you don't follow your own rules about the ghosts that you created and the laws that they have to abide by, it confuses the reader. And I feel like Clay McLeod Chapman really confused the reader, because I don't think he knew exactly what his ghosts were and how they were supposed to act. Because the Civil War ghosts and the fire survivor ghosts, or the ghosts that, like, burned in the fire, all acted a hell of a lot differently than the ghosts that are like the ghosts that are in the house. So you have 2 different types of ghosts. You have ghosts that are, like, in a house, and then you have ghosts that haunt other places already, right? And the ghosts that haunt other places already have these own strange rules, and I don't quite understand what they're doing or why, but they kind of consistently do the same thing. Then you have these other ghosts that kind of appear in this almost like vacuum of a setting, and for some reason they can act entirely different, and that drove me crazy. And again, it's this whole concept of, are the ghosts real, or is this fungus what's causing them to act sporadically and differently in different places? And I just didn't care, because we never got answers, and I think this whole line of, are you hallucinating or is it real, is just stupid at this point. It was cool once. I don't need to see it done this often, and it really lost me there. Another thing that we had, there was a blaring plot hole, or at least what I thought was a plot hole, and then there was, like, a twist that, like, corrected it. And I'm almost mad at myself for not figuring out the twist, because this blaring, what I thought was a plot hole, the whole time I was like, why did that happen? That doesn't make sense. This shouldn't have happened. And then on, like, the last 20 pages they explain it, and I was just like, oh, probably should have figured that one out. And that really annoyed me, because it was something that was jarring enough and visible enough for me to be like, this is wrong. And then when the twist came, because it didn't fully blindside me, I was really underwhelmed and annoyed with it. And then my other major issues with this book, I have 2 other really big issues. One, there is not a single likable character in this story. Not one. Not our main character, not her boyfriend, not her 2 best friends, not her parents, not her boss. Nobody is likable in this book. Like, I can't root for anybody, because I don't ever want to be friends or know any of these people. They are all truly, truly terrible. They're either selfish, spineless, catty, petty, jaded, spoiled. Nobody's a good character in this book, and everybody plays their own victim. And it is mind-bogglingly despicable. Like, I just hated every last character, and because this is a story about addiction and struggle, you're really inside the depths of certain characters' psyches, and that was just not a place I wanted to be reading this. Oh God, just the entitlement of our main character. It was just spoiled rich kid who thinks she deserves everything and can do no wrong times 1,000. Like, she was so full of herself, and I just hated her. And I think one of the things that I really, really, really hated about her is from the very beginning, so this isn't a true spoiler, you will realize that she is in an abusive relationship. And the abusive relationship becomes kind of this metaphor for the drug as well, where she is addicted to this abusive relationship. And over and over and over again, you just see her going back to this asshole. And it just killed me. From like a feminist point of view, like, it really killed me inside that she just kept allowing herself to be used by this guy in so many different ways, no matter how horrible he was to her. And I mean, he is horrible to her. Horrible, 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 horrible. And she just kept going back. And then this is where the very, 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 very minor spoiler that I said I had to talk about comes in. And it's just the very last page of the book, and this killed me. We spend this whole book watching her trying to escape and understand that she was in an abusive relationship. This doesn't even have anything to do with the addiction. And I'm sure it's a metaphor for addiction. And at the very end, she returns, metaphorically, sort of. It's weird. You can read the book and find out. She returns to the abusive relationship. She doesn't escape. And she willingly goes back with the idea that she was free. And she chooses to go back. And I think her feminist arc, I think it would have been much better had she just fully escaped and, like, was able to fully overcome this last page where she chooses to go back. You can tell this book was not written by a woman. Like, you can just tell this book was not written by a woman. And that just devastated me. And it just felt so wrong. It felt like we got this whole story and she escaped and then was safe and then she went back to it. And I get it. It's a metaphor for addiction. I totally understand that. But I don't like that it was veiled through an abusive relationship, and that pissed me off. One other thing I will say that I absolutely detested about this book, and I will say the fact that I am connecting so thoroughly with, like, the frustration of trying to see somebody failing to overcome an addiction means that this book was effective, which is why this is a 3-star read and not a 2-star read, because it did achieve what it set out to do. I just don't like how it did it, and I didn't think it was scary. That being said, people who brag about reading and enjoying Infinite Jest, I can't stand that. Just because you have read and finished Infinite Jest does not make that a personality trait. And throw in the fact that they're also bragging about reading Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. That is just a whole other level of pretentious, and they're 24, so you know that they just read it and they were like, I understand the world now. And I know, this is a very jaded thing to say because I have never been able to finish Infinite Jest and I want to so badly. But it literally became like a personality trait for one character in one scene. Like, that was why he was great. Because he reads Gravity's Rainbow and he reads Infinite Jest. And it's just like, don't think I agree with that. And I don't know, it's just a little thing. This is just like a small chapter of this book. And I was just like, stop with the postmodernism. Everybody's read White Noise. Like, okay. I'm angry. I love postmodernism. I really, really do. And I'm not hating on people who read and like Gravity's Rainbow or Infinite Jest at all. I think they're books worth reading. I just wish I could get through them. I just think that when, like, your whole character development is like, I read postmodernism, so I'm the shit, which is pretty much what this character was, it's like, at least give me something else. Like, he's good looking and he reads David Foster Wallace for fun. That was his personality. That was his personality. Anyway, did not have a fun time reading this. This is not a feel-good book at all. At all. It's worth reading. Trigger warnings for addiction. Trigger warnings for toxic, abusive relationships. Everywhere. Everywhere. Beautiful cover. Really, truly beautiful cover. I like that it's called Ghost Eaters. I think that's interesting. It took me a while to figure out why it was called Ghost Eaters. And it's obviously beyond just, like, the fact that the drug that they take is called Ghost. I liked that a lot. I'm so torn on this book. There were so many unlikable things about this book, but it did effectively do what it set out to do. So I'm very in the middle of going back and forth between this was very well done and this wasn't. So I'm going to keep it at my 3-star rating. And I'm going to go read some Haunted History now because I really need something that's a little more feel good and less horrifically depressing and upsetting and unsettling. So yeah, anyhow, that was Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays, and if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I hope I don't have any more fungus hauntings anytime soon. I'm so over it. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Mwah! Bye.